Every UPSC aspirant wants to know one thing. What does UPSC actually expect from us in mains? The 2026 papers give us some very clear answers. They show that mains preparation is moving towards thinking, application, and analysis rather than rote learning and generic answers. Hello everyone, my name is Rajni Jha. Welcome to Drishti IAS. In this lecture, we will decode 5 key lessons from UPSC Mains 2026 and understand what they mean for your preparation strategy. Let's get started. The first key takeaway is about essay. Now, the essay paper is moving towards abstract philosophical statements, and for that, you require multi-dimensional thinking. Learning pre-set frameworks or the coaching templates or whatever model templates you have or whatever quotes you have learned, that is not going to help you. Because in abstract statements, the first step is decode what the statement says. Decode all the dimensions of that particular statement, because you will write your answer in different dimensions after you have decoded the abstract statement clearly. Let's have a look at one of these statements that was asked in this essay paper, this year's essay paper. It says, a thorn is a changed bud. Now, if I just look at it, what does it mean? It looks like bud. Bud would be something which has innocence and potential, right? And if I look at thorn, thorn would signify something that has become harsh or painful. So this will signify harshness or painful, something painful, right? So on the face value, it looks like I'm talking about something that once had innocence and a lot of potential, hope, that has changed into something harsh, something painful. So maybe it means that whatever you see today, if something is harsh, if someone is harsh, if it is painful, that means it had potential at one point of time, and because of the circumstances, adversities, it became harsh and painful, right? But at the same time, if you really think deeply into this, you will realize that thorn is a natural adaptation. In nature, the plants that have thorn are the plants that survive even harsh conditions, the extreme conditions. That means that thorn is actually a symbol of resilience, right? So the same statement can be decoded in another way as well, that maybe it had potential once and now it has become harsh, it has become painful, but at the same time it has also got resilience, it has also got strength. So the same adversity that can convert something into painful or someone into a painful person, something into a painful situation or someone into a painful person or harsh person, the same adversity has the capability to bring resilience and strength as well. Now that I've understood both the dimensions, I can write the essay in all the dimensions. So yes, you can talk about different dimensions, like you can write philosophical, you can write psychological, you can write individual level, you can write any technological angle if you want to write here, right? You can write governance angle. All those dimensions are fine. You have learned how to write essay in those dimensions in institutes also. But what happens if you are not able to decode the statement itself? Or if you're able to decode only one dimension in the statement itself, then you potentially lose good statements, you potentially lose good dimensions that you could have added in your answer, and of course marks, needless to say. So now the essay paper, because it has become abstract, it is becoming more and more abstract and philosophical, you need to develop thinking ability, analytical ability, thinking ability. You need to start thinking for your own self. You cannot rely on just institutes, you cannot rely on maybe toppers' notes for a framework and you will be done. No. You have to start thinking for yourself, and that is the first key takeaway from this year's paper. That essay paper, for essay paper, spontaneously you'll have to come up with the dimensions. You should be able to understand. You need to have multi-dimensional thinking. You can't just focus on rigid templates and you'll be done with the answers. That is not going to happen now, right? Okay. Before we move ahead, right now we have festive learning offer going on from 26th of August to 30th of August, in which you'll get the lowest price of the year on all live online courses, and these prices will increase after this sale, so do not miss this opportunity. If you haven't joined us, do join us and call on this number 87501. So that was first key takeaway. The second key takeaway is the big change in ethics paper. What is the big change? Earlier in section 1, this was theory based, right? So you would be asked questions based on definitions or direct questions. But now from this year, what has happened? Like, look at this question first, then I'll tell you what has happened. This question says, on the request of his personal assistant, the district magistrate stops the transfer of a school teacher who takes private tuition for his daughter diagnosed with learning disability. In this context, discuss the aspect of empathy versus compliance with rules. So they did not directly ask you what is empathy. How would you apply in, let's say, in governance process? They did not ask you direct question. They gave you a mini situational based question. And this was something new this year. So if you think that in essay you can simply learn the definitions, that will not help you. Now you have to move towards applied situational mini case studies. And this also is heavily focused on AI and technology, especially technology. You will see some questions I'll show you after a few slides. So it is very technological ethics, based on technological ethics. So that has also been asked very frequently this year. So now the direct question approach, definitional approach is not going to work. Even in section A, they're asking mini situational sort of questions where you have to apply your applied thinking, you have to apply analytical thinking, and this is heavily focused on technological ethics and modern algorithm based dilemmas. Those sort of questions are being asked. Similarly, when we talk about section 2, which was mainly case studies, right? Here again, they have not asked you to list the pros and cons. They have asked you to take immediate actions. They have asked you to choose one thing, make a choice, make a decision, take immediate action. So they have given you a situation where you have to choose concrete immediate actions and resolve the conflicts, resolve the problems, rather than simply listing what are the pros of this, what are the cons of this, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. You are asked to make decision, take decision right then and there to solve the conflict. And in an examination situation where you're already under high pressure, if you haven't started training yourself to think on those lines, you will not be able to do justice with the answer. So now you can see section A is also moving towards mini situational question, which will ask you to analyze. And it is mainly technological ethics is being included here. And section B was anyway case studies, but now in the case studies also, they are giving you a situation where you'll have to make decisions right then and there to solve the conflict. The third key takeaway, importance of reading newspaper, of course. See, I have been saying since the beginning of this particular session that you have to develop your analytical thinking. You have to focus on thinking, because if you cannot think for yourself, you will not be able to write good answers, at least not in the coming years, with the pattern that is changing for UPSC, right? So how would you develop that? By reading newspaper. One of the ways is by reading newspaper. Of course, a different way would be to talk with different people who have different mindsets, open mindsets, and who are well read. But many times we don't have that circle around us. Even if we do that, sometimes waste a lot of time, right? So what you can do is have a habit of reading newspaper regularly, because when you read newspaper, when you read the same news being developed over the weeks, you develop opinions on that. You develop different thinking approach on that. You read editorial analysis and you see how a balanced approach should look like, what a balanced approach should look like, and how you can develop that balanced approach, right? So if you want to understand multidimensional thinking, if you want to develop multidimensional thinking, you want to develop analytical thinking, critical thinking, for all these, reading newspaper is a must. In any case, this will also help you in reading comprehension, right, in CSAT. Apart from that also, it will definitely help you with across all the GS papers, because now the questions are more and more thinking based, more and more analytical, right? So this will help you with that as well. Newspaper reading is a must. You cannot leave this part. This will bring, at the same time, this will also bring real case studies, data, right? You can pick data. Important data driven analysis is always given more marks, right? People who have written something data driven analysis, some evidence in the form of data, will anyway fetch more marks, because then it changes from abstract idea to evidence. And whenever you substantiate your answer with data or evidence or a case study or examples, which all of these you find in the newspaper, you anyway get more marks. So this will definitely help you in across all GS papers in your mains examination as well, right? Next key takeaway would be, yes, mastering the literal keywords. Now, this is something I have been saying for a very long time to all my students. The first thing that you should be doing before starting your preparation for UPSC examination is take the printout of syllabus, look at the keywords in the syllabus, and you should have definition of all the keywords in the syllabus. You should have the definition of all the keywords in the syllabus, keywords mentioned in the syllabus. What will that do? First of all, questions, even if the direct questions are not repeated, themes are always repeated, right? In most of the cases, you'll find similar themes asked earlier as well. Second, if you do not have any idea, if you do not have clear idea of what is there in your syllabus, when you go to study, you always get distracted and branches come up and you start studying something else because now you do not remember what was there in your syllabus. So once you have the definition notebook of every keyword that is given in your syllabus and you remember those definition, you also have a clear idea of what is there in the syllabus. So that gives you a clear idea of your roadmap, because this syllabus is your guide, ultimate guide for the preparation. This will tell you where your track is. This will keep you on your track so that you don't start studying everything under the sky, right? Because the syllabus is huge and vast as it is. So we should have a clear guidance and guideline as to what we need to study. And for that, syllabus comes in handy. And how would you remember syllabus? If you have the definition of every keyword given in your syllabus and you have written that somewhere, you have read it multiple times, then you also by default remember the syllabus. And at the same time, as I told you, this 10-year past paper, 10-year PYQs, they become your guide, because questions are repeated. And by question, I mean themes are repeated. For example, I'll give you examples also. I'm also going to substantiate my statement with evidence. So look at this question. This was asked in this year's GS paper 1. Vijayanagar architecture exemplifies the amalgamation of past traditions with contemporary practices. Elucidate with examples. Now, if you look at this question is about Vijayanagar architecture. The subtopic, syllabus subtopic is Indian culture. Of course, it is asked from Indian culture. Salient aspects of art forms, literature and architecture from ancient to modern times. This was the syllabus subtopic. And this about Vijayanagar Empire was also asked in 2016 and 2019. In 2016, they focused on Vijayanagar Empire's water storage, right? And in 2019, they focused on how the temple architecture of Vijayanagar Empire reflected its political power. So they focused on temple architecture. So you see the architecture of Vijayanagar Empire, this theme is repeated. And the larger theme is Indian culture, right? Next, in GS paper 2, there's a question asked, examine whether the constitutional office of the Lok Sabha speaker has become vulnerable to partisan politics under the current anti-defection regime. What institutional changes are required to ensure the neutrality of the Lok Sabha speaker in managing a polarized house? So if you look at this question is about the powers and charges of Lok Sabha speaker, right? And this comes under the syllabus, parliament and state legislature, structure, function, conduct of business, power and privileges, issues arising out of these. So this is a part of that. And has this question been asked earlier? Yes, this has been asked earlier in 2015. Something like this was asked in 2015 and 2020. I'll tell you. See, in 2015, it was asked to assess speaker's role in handling money bills. And in 2020, there was a debate. The question was debating the speaker's office neutrality in what? In anti-defection law. And here again, they have talked about this anti-defection regime, speaker's role, right? Institutional changes in speaker's position. So the same kind of, at least the themes are being asked again and again. The theme of this question was the role, power and neutrality of Lok Sabha speaker. Something like this has been asked before as well. Similarly, if we look in GS paper 3, the question was, what are the challenges to solid waste management in India? Discuss the governmental policy framework on solid waste management. Discuss the success, failure, cases of Delhi and Indore cities, highlighting the salient features of their solid waste management initiatives. If one thing you notice, you should notice that this question itself, when you look at it, there are so many dimensions that are mentioned in the question itself. And that is another thing that has changed this year. Then even in 10 marker question and in 15 marker question, in both of them, different subtopics have been asked together. They have been clubbed together. Different dimensions have been asked in the same question together. And writing everything in the given time frame, in the limited time frame, within the given word limit, that becomes a task. I'll talk about that in a while. So if you look at this question is about solid waste management, right? What is the syllabus subtopic? Environmental pollution and degradation. This comes under that, right? Is there any PYQ connection? Yes. In 2019, there was a question on hazards of solid waste handling, electronic or solid waste handling. Similar kind of question. And in 2022, there was a question on causes and mitigation of municipal landfill fires. Now, this again is related to solid waste management. If you look at it, the municipal landfill fire, that is also related to solid waste management. Why? Because what happens is municipal solid waste is dumped into the landfill, right? If it is not managed properly, it is dumped into the landfill. Then the organic waste in that is decomposed. This produces methane. There is heat, there are gases, and because of that, the chances of fire increase. So this municipal landfill fires that is written here, the question that has been asked, this landfill fire is because solid waste management was not done properly. So it is also directly related to what is asked this year. So theme has been repeated. Similarly, if you look at ethics paper, I told you in ethics, if you see first in the section 1, in the section A, mini situational questions have been given. So that has changed this year, right? Now you are not directly asked definitional question. And why is this different? This is different because this forces you to think analytically. That is why it is different, right? At the same time, it is very algorithm based or technological based. Technological ethics has been asked. Technological ethics that has been focused on this year. So if you look at it, the syllabus subtopic is ethics and human interface. And you can read the rest. Role of family, society and educational institution in inculcating values. What is the question? Owing to the paucity of time, a university professor generates a PhD evaluation report using AI, that is artificial intelligence, and submits it with some modification. Discuss this from the perspective of accountability and integrity. So as you can see, technological heavy algorithm based question. So has anything like this been asked before? In 2021 and 2024, there were questions on ethics of emerging technology. Isn't AI also emerging technology? It is. So whenever there is an emerging technology, the ethics involved, integrity involved, and whose accountability it will be in those technologies, all those topics are always touched upon. So this has been asked, the same theme has been asked earlier as well, and this has been repeated. So if you had gone through the PYQs, if you had gone through the syllabus and PYQs, you would know that such themes are being repeated, so I should focus on these, right? And finally, the last key takeaway, as I told you, there are multi-layered questions this time. You must have seen in all these questions that I just showed you, that this year there are multi-layered questions, which means there are 3 or 4 subtopics, distinct sub-questions, which are given in one question itself, 3-4 dimensions in one question itself. And that makes it incredibly difficult to manage time and to write answer within that time frame and word limit. So unless you have practiced this before, you won't be able to do it. So the key takeaway, 5th key takeaway would be practice questions from different dimensions in the given time frame within the given word limit, and practice it more and more, so that when you write answer in the in your mains examination, it is not very generic. Because generic answers will get you only generic marks. They will not get you good marks, right? Or if you write essay style answers, they will also get you very generic sort of marks, very average marks, not good marks. So you have to focus this as well, right? You have to focus on this, and this is 5th key takeaway from this year's mains paper. Now, before we end the session, I'd like to focus on this again. I'd like to re-emphasize, from 26th August to 30th August, right now we have festive learning offer going on, and we have the lowest price of the year, where you will get discount on all live online courses. And right now, as you can see, it is available on ISGS Foundation course, and at the same time the optional courses as well. And this is the lowest price, as I told you. And many of you have already asked me many times that you want to join the course and how to do it. So what you can do is you can call on this number, 87501, 87501. This is a golden opportunity. Do not miss this opportunity. That's all I'd like to say. So that's it for today's session. If you still have any questions related to your preparation strategy or anything in general regarding UPSC examination, or if you have any questions in mind, if you have any topics in mind that you would like me to explain, please write them down in the comment section below. Also, do let me know how did you like this session and would you like me to bring more sessions like these. So that's it for today's class. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you again very soon. Until then, take care.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.